We are focused on this AT&T and Time Warner hearing, a mega merger in the media industry that certainly got some criticism from Donald Trump earlier in the campaign. He didn't want that much concentration of ownership and power, particularly in the media industry, and more to the point with CNN as part of that mix. Meanwhile, Apple supplier Foxconn is in talks to buy SoftBank, itself investing in the United States. Remember, Foxconn also behind making all those Apple iPhones in China, and Apple has already telegraphed, we might be open to making more of them in the United States. So the whole world bows to the president-elect, it seems. What's at stake here with economists Dave Maney, Fox Business's Jerry Willis, and George W. Bush policy advisor Michael Barnes. Michael, I need to begin with you on the deals that are both rumored and talked about and how they would fare and what attention they would get under a President Trump. What do you think?
I think these deals are going to get a lot of attention from President Trump because he has come into office, or will soon take office, in a wave of economic populism worldwide. And what that means is that he's going to be looking at the interests of everyday Americans. And so if that means manufacturing returning to the United States, or if it means foreign investment in the United States, he's going to pursue it aggressively. Same goes with this merger and his efforts to protect consumers from the excessive conglomeration of power in the hands of corporations like AT&T and Time Warner, to make sure that the information flows appropriately to consumers, as well as making sure that consumers have a right to negotiate and actually get something that they want in the market at a reasonable price. So I expect that we're going to see a lot of very hands-on economic leadership from the incoming president.
You know what's interesting, as I was focusing in and out of the hearings, Jerry, was the fact that Donald Trump is really on the side of some of the Democrats who've been critical of this deal, or let's just say suspicious of it. What do you make of that?
Well, suspicious. What did he say? He said deals like this destroy democracy. He said he would stand in the way of it. He wouldn't let it happen. And I'm going to tell you.
But how can he get in the way of it? Now, what he would tell his... You can't tell the Justice Department, no, we don't think this is a good idea. They have to apparently come to that conclusion themselves. But is just the bully pulpit saying it's not a good idea
exactly
not enough?
I mean, he's been super successful. He's been super successful at convincing companies to do what he wants. It's been astonishing. He's not even in office yet, and he's already gotten carrier jobs reinstated, 50,000 jobs from SoftBank, another 50 possibly from Foxconn. This is big-time stuff. So he seems to have a weight of power. This is the beginning of his term, the beginning of his administration, and he's spending it as fast as he can because he knows that down the road, all that power kind of dissipates and you can't get anything done.
You got to strike fast. Mike, I'll let you finish your point, then I want to go to Dave, but Michael, it has happened really before, you're saying.
I think this choice of attorney general, as well as the attorney in the DOJ who will take on antitrust matters, as well as FTC appointments, will make a difference. And there is precedent for the president to be able to make a difference in matters like this, with the initial split up of AT&T during the Reagan administration and pursuing litigation that had been on hold for about 6 years.
That's a very good point. You know, Dave, the other issue here is whether Donald Trump will be a friend or foe of business. Some like his low regulation stance, his idea to cut taxes. They all love that. They get a little wincy, if you will, when he starts talking about them shipping jobs overseas, a little too heavy-handed there. Which Donald Trump wins out?
Well, here's the problem. Neither one wins out. He's neither pro-business nor anti-business. What he is, in my opinion, and as you know, Neil, I am a big free markets guy. But what I'm afraid we're seeing with President-elect Trump is that he does whatever he thinks plays to the crowd. This notion that this stuff that's gone on this week has somehow been big-time stuff, that some Japanese magnate says, I'll invest $50 billion, I'll create 50,000 jobs. Sure, let's check in a year or two and see what's actually happened. I think, like, talk is incredibly cheap, and all we're getting is talk, and in my opinion, none of it is based on solid, fundamental free market economics. It's based on what do I think people want to hear today.
All right, well, there might be talk, but Jerry, there was a tangible result in the case of Carrier with these, well, you buy what the company and the union is saying, 730 jobs or up to 1,100 jobs. Bottom line, jobs that would have gone, all of them, to Mexico. Now, you can argue about future jobs and whether they're in peril there, but he did extract that. Now, some would say that's a slippery slope. Be careful what you wish for. But what is your read and the people you're talking to? What are they saying about how he's extracting these concessions?
Well, how he's extracting these concessions in large part is no different from what state and local government officials have been doing for 20 or 30 years, and that's promising tax advantages, tax benefits to staying. This has gone on forever. So to act like this is, oh, this has never happened before, that's just silly.
Well, I guess the difference here
is done.
I understand, but Michael, the difference here is that it's going from the very tippy top, right? It's coming from the President of the United States, who encouraging those to do anything and everything to make companies stay. So my immediate reaction to that, just as an American who wants to see American jobs protected, is what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that?
Well, Trump is setting the tone for his administration, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if we look at some of the greatest stories and some of the greatest presidencies in the United States. We had Lincoln, then we had Teddy Roosevelt and Reagan, who all used the power of the federal government to look after the individuals, the consumers, and that has made a big difference in their legacies, and it's an appropriate use of the federal government. Laissez-faire economics, in its plainest libertarian sense, got 3% of the popular vote. We see Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, who actually got the majorities where it mattered in the general election because of their economic messages that entail this sort of very active role of the federal government in protecting the individual. That's a very good thing.
You know, Dave, you mentioned something interesting about how Trump might be playing to the crowd on this one, certainly the populist rage that's very paramount here globally. So there's a limit to what he can do. But what if that pitch in the future is, wait out these job cuts if you're planning them, wait out these, sending jobs offshore if you're planning them, because I'm going to cut regulations, I'm going to cut taxes. Just give me time. Would you be, as someone who's a free marketeer, capitalist, comfortable with that kind of a pitch?
Absolutely. I mean, the guy gets to jawbone and persuade whenever he wants to. But the idea that he's gone beyond persuasion when he has, it's not even an implied threat. He's effectively threatened companies who make any decision that he thinks is bad.
So how would you apply that to a Boeing, Dave? How would you apply it to a Boeing and saying $4 billion for Air Force One? Now, obviously, you can read those numbers any which way you want. It is fair to say that the cost estimate for the presidential planes in this case, since there'd be a couple of them, has gone up exponentially. I don't know if it's at $4 billion, but to cite them and embarrass them and publicly humiliate them, what do you think of that approach?
It's not like he threatened them. He threatened them with taking away the business. He gets to do that. He's the proprietor of the shop now, right?
But can he cancel a contract that's already agreed to? That's what's confusing.
No. No. I mean, look, my problem with the Obama administration is that it has been operating outside the law, right? That the rule of law is where we should be in this country, and to the extent that you can persuade around it, but you can't violate it. And to the extent that he wants to go and violate the law, I think that's a horrible thing for every business guy like me who wants a stable framework to plan and invest in.
And just to fill out this idea, I mean, I think the problem with Trump's approach ultimately is that it may become difficult for business operators to figure out what's going on and what's going to happen next. And in that kind of environment, they might slow growth instead of ramp it up. I mean, you're playing to a very specific appetite here, one man. That's the fear. That's the worry about what could happen to the economy ultimately. Am I a fan of these new jobs? I am a big-time fan, but it's still a question.
Michael, final word.
Yeah, I just don't know what we're talking about in terms of violating the law, but in terms of adhering to the rule of law, of course. But setting the tone and setting expectations for U.S. companies and making a priority that we're going to focus on the economic security of working Americans and consumers, that's a great thing, and I think he should continue.
You know, he's only a president-elect. He's doing all this stuff. So whether you like it or hate it, I mean, he's doing all this as a guy not even sworn in yet. So that's pretty remarkable in and of itself. Guys, thank you all very, very much.